Toussaint. I asked the great Alan Toussaint from New Orleans if he would do a horn chart for it. And he had made a record with Lee Dorsey called Yes We Can, an album. And it was a killer album, and the horns on it were fantastic. And we'd had horns on lots of our records, but this was a different thing. We had kind of Salvation Army kind of horns that we played ourselves. It wasn't like real horn players, but it made a sound, a mournful, beautiful sound. So on this, I wanted something like a real chart. So I asked Toussaint to do this. We did it. We had a great time. And then we had been on the road at that time, and the band was playing very well. And I thought, we should capture this. We should do something live now while everybody is on their game. So we booked these dates at the Academy of Music in New York at the end of the year leading up to New Year's Eve. And I asked Alan Toussaint if he would write horn charts on a lot of our songs that I could have imagined. Didn't have horns, but I could have imagined it, right? And by then, Alan and I had become friends and everything, and it was something really to look forward to. So anyway, it's a bit of an involved story, but he comes up to Woods. He's written the charts. He comes up to Woodstock, and there's like this much snow on the ground. He's from New Orleans. He's never seen anything like this before. He comes to the airport in New York. Someone steals his briefcase with all of the horn charts in it. He comes up to Woodstock, and he's like a beaten man in the snow before he even gets there.
But that Chicago record was amazing.
So we put him, I said, what are we going to do? He said, I've got to start all over again. So we put him in a cabin near our house that we had, and he said, all right, I'm good here. I just need, my electric piano, and I'll start writing. So anyway, after a couple of days, first of all, he seems to be in a good spirit. He's a stranger in a strange land here for sure. I can feel that from him. But anyway, after a couple of days, I go over there, and he says, I can't hear. I've lost my hearing. And I think, boy, are we screwed. Not only has he lost the charts, the snow's up to here, now he's gone deaf. So we're like, we're making Beethoven jokes now, and it's not, but he can't hear them, right? So anyway, I get this doctor, this Woodstock doctor, to come over to the cabin. He's never seen a doctor that looks like it. He has a beard down to here. He's this hippie-looking guy with doctor stuff on. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna die. This is getting worse. So anyway, the guy says, you have these terrible infections. So he shoots him up with all of these antibiotics and everything, and he's getting on the, somehow making a little bit of progress. And now it's time to go into the city and start rehearsing. And he's still writing the charts in the back seat of the car on the way in. We go in, and in the nick of time, his magic kicks in, and he pulls us out, and he does get the charts written, and we made this record, and it was one of the most joyous musical experiences we ever had in doing it.
What brought you out here? You moved out here a couple of years after that. What was it that caused you to move out here?
Well, it was just time to shuffle a deck. My wife Dominique was not enjoying Woodstock anymore. It had become kind of it had become a bit drug infested, and she said, we need to see a light. This is getting very, very dark here. And at the same time, we had just taken a trip with Joni Mitchell and David Geffen to Paris, and Dominique is French and everything, so we went and we had a great time.
If only a song had come out of that we're familiar with.
And while we were there, David said, you guys should consider moving out to Malibu. We were like, Malibu? You know, I mean, you moved to Malibu? It's like, you know, we couldn't picture it in the beginning. And he said, no, let me explain. And so he told us about it, and he set up this scenario and everything, and he talked us into it. He's really good at talking people into stuff. And he talked us into it, and we moved from Woodstock with our daughters Alexandra and Delphine into the Sam Peckinpah house in Malibu, sight unseen. I mean, that's how much that we trusted him. And it was such a change. And our backyard was the Pacific Ocean. It was like, this can't be all that bad.
There was someone screaming next door, however.
Oh, yeah. So we had just moved into the place, and Dominique and I got the kids settled in bed and everything, and we were relaxing in the evening, and then we heard this incredible screaming. So we leaped up, we're like, what the hell is going on? You know, and we're like running back and forth, outside, inside. Should we call the police? What do we do? All of this, and it turns out our next door neighbor was the actress Diane Cannon, and she was practicing Primal Scream, and it was just a thing, and we thought, welcome to Malibu.
David Geffen also talked you into that 1974 tour with Bob Dylan. What was it like to take your music with the same personnel, playing it much the same way, to cheering fans in stadiums and arenas across America after what you've been through before?
That was an interesting feeling, because Bob hadn't been out playing on the road it's since the tour that we had done in 1966. So, and this is 1974. So now he's going to go out and do another tour. Now it's Bob Dylan, the band. You know, we have now become this thing, and it's a very exciting time. And we go out, and something happens when we would play together. A dynamic came into it, an energy, a rise in the music, very much like pushing the same button as it was in the beginning when we played. So now we go and we play all over, and like you said, everybody's very accepting and cheering and saying this is the best, and we didn't change a thing. And it was like the world came around, and we didn't. And so it was one of those feelings of a kind of accomplishment.
Kind of continuing relations with the band and your own sensibility, the people you are now having creative conversations with, begin to shape your idea for what would become the last waltz.
Well, we had been playing for 16 years together on the road, and you know, in the beginning, you know, we played every night, and there was a feeling. There was a feeling like maybe we were repeating ourselves or something like that. You know, you start thinking, God, haven't we just done this to pieces? We've played the worst, smallest, grungiest honky-tonks on the planet, and we'd also played the biggest concerts in the world. And it was like, I don't know. Don't we need to pull the train into the station, check ourselves out, and find out how to get back to some creativity, some newness, some freshness, that we don't want to be just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I thought, why don't we have a musical celebration? Why don't we go back and play the first place that we played as the band, Winterland in San Francisco with Bill Graham, full circle. We'll go back, we'll just have a musical celebration, and maybe we'll invite Ronnie Hawkins to come and Bob Dylan to come. That would be respectful. These guys meant so much to us in our journey. So the guys, everybody was like, it feels good, that feels good. And then someone said, I know, but if you're gonna invite them, don't we need to invite Eric Clapton? So I said, Eric, you know, he's been like the supporter of waving the band flag, you know, since the beginning. He said, yeah, you're right, Eric should be there. But then it was like, but if we're gonna have Eric, don't you need to have Van Morrison, for God's sakes? What the hell? And then, over a period of time, in the most natural musical celebration kind of feeling, you know, it was like, I know, we gotta have the Canadians, you know, come on, we're gonna do this and not have Joni and Neil Young come? That's just wrong, right? And then the idea of having people that represented different pieces of the music that we loved, that we felt a part of. So it was like, gotta have Dr. John come in from New Orleans, you know? And then it was like, and Muddy Waters, hello, Chicago Blues. So all of these things, it gradually, and it was never ever meant to be, this is gonna be big, this is gonna, that was not the idea at all. It was really about the heart of this music that we were talking about, that it needed to be represented. We needed to show where we were coming from, what we respected, what we loved, and not only that, we are going to play with everybody. Now, easy to say, but I'm telling you, at the last waltz, we played 21 songs that we barely had a chance to run over. And I'm telling you, when you have barely a chance to run over a Joni Mitchell song, you could be in big trouble. You know, it's tricky, you know. And so, and going from Joni Mitchell to Muddy Waters, hello, I mean, come on. How many bands in the whole wide world, you know? And so we played all of those songs with everybody that night, and we never screwed up. It was like the gods. It was a feat. I thought about it after. You know, I was like, this is Guinness Book of Records, and people don't realize how much that is. And there was no music. We don't read music. This was all about looking at somebody's eyes, watching their fingers, everybody in focus, you know, with everything you got, you know, for that 5-hour concert. So anyway, we're building to all of this up, and Bill Graham says, this has to be documented. This may never happen again, ever. So we started out like, well, we'll get a couple of video cameras, you know, so they got a couple of black and white video cameras, and then someone said, well, that's not gonna look very good. So they said, well, I guess, you know, do what everybody does, let's shoot it in 16. And then they said, oh, now there's Super 16. So I don't know, and we'll have 3 cameras. And then the next thing, because of my movie thing, I said, well, somebody needs to take care of this. We gotta learn these songs. We gotta deal with this whole thing. And I had the audacity to go to Martin Scorsese while he was in the middle of shooting a movie and ask him to make this movie. So he says, you know, there's one rule in this. They don't let you shoot another movie while you're shooting a movie. So he's, you know, he said, I don't know, I don't think I could do it. And as in the course of that evening when we met, we started talking about these different players, these different musicians that were going to be joining us. And finally he threw his arms in the air and he said, they can fire me, they can burn me, I don't care, they can sue me, I have to do this. And it was like, I just was thrilled. And he said, I'm going to do it, but we can't tell anybody.
And as we can see from our final image, you all remember this pretty great moment. I have some questions from the audience to share with you.
All right, let's see what they're made of. Let's see.
Did Eric Clapton ever confide in you about wanting to join the band?
I never heard. Eric came to Woodstock to visit, and he was just coming to visit. He loved the band's music, and he said, "I'm breaking up Cream because of your music." And I thought, whoa, we don't want this responsibility. I like Cream. But anyway, he came to Woodstock, visited, we had a lovely time, and then years later, he inducted the band into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And in his induction speech, he said that time that he came to Woodstock, he was actually coming to ask if he could join the band. So I said to him, were you suggesting that we needed a different guitar player? Were you saying maybe there should be two? And he laughed and he never answered.